right, everybody. Thanks for joining us with this webinar on the Power Platform. Glad you could all make it. We see that we have a lot of people coming in, which is always a good thing. So we'll be starting off right away. So let me just present who our presenters are going to be today. Give me a second. All right. All right, so today we'll be joined by Nelson Lopez. He's the National Partner Technology Architect for Microsoft Canada. We'll also be joined by Reza Alirazai. Sorry, Reza, if I pronounced it wrong. He's the practice lead development at Development Horizon, so he's very familiar with the Power Platform. And also there's going to be myself, Joël Seguin. I'm the Dynamics 365 subject matter expert here at Sherweb. So let's start it off. So for all of you that are asking, what does low code, no code mean, and why is there a market for it? Let's just, I think we jumped over the agenda. Give me a sec. All right, so where's the agenda? Sorry about that. So first thing we're gonna check is what is the low code, no code market. After that, we'll be looking at what's the value based on your background. So depending where you're coming from, how you could add these solutions to your portfolio, and what does it mean for you. We're going to be looking at what Microsoft has to offer in this market. How is it different from what everybody else is offering? The use cases also for the Power Platform, and also the skill sets and roles that are needed to support a minimum practice in a Power Platform. All right, so let's go with what is the low code, no code, and why is there a market for it? Nelson, this is off to you.
Okay, thank you, Joel. Okay, great. Well, good morning, everyone. So let's talk a little bit about why there's even a need for low code, no code, and the Power Platform. So right now, the digital transformation landscape, it is changing very quickly. There is a growing demand for mobile apps, at least 5 times faster than what IT departments can deliver. There's estimations that in the next 5 years, about 500 million new logic apps, will be created, which will be equal to the number of applications built in the last 40 years. And there's estimates by 2024 that low-code applications will constitute more than 65% of the application development activity out there. So what's happening is the reason why there's such a demand for low-code, no-code solutions is simply because the IT departments, the developers that actually exist in some of these companies, the people that actually are responsible for creating either applications or solutions, they just simply can't keep up, right? They can't keep up. And so what's happening is they're empowering all of the super users or citizen developers that exist in the different departments within these companies, like at the finance department, the HR department, sales, and so forth, to create their solutions on their own. And people, like everybody, people will cobble together something like an Excel or, in a SharePoint list, but it only goes so far. And so technology like Microsoft Power Platform empowers these super users in these departments and all these different companies to create something very compelling, not only for themselves, but for their work group, even at the department level, something that can scale, that's very functional, that integrates with different data systems. Like we have over 300 connectors, but at the same time, it's secure, it's manageable, and it's scalable. And so And so that's where this need is coming from more than ever before. In terms of what is the value for low code, no code, based on your background. So if you're if you're a services organization with maybe you come from a Dynamics business applications background, or maybe Microsoft 365 or Azure, this slide kind of gives you an idea of what is the value based on your background. So I came over from Dynamics in 12 years in Dynamics. And so if you have a Dynamics background, if you're a business apps background, what the Power Platform allows you to do is really unlimited extensibility. Like it takes you to a whole new world of complementary services that were simply not possible in the past. Like, for example, automation, AI builder. It also brings in new workloads and revenue streams that we didn't have before, like application modernization, business process automation. What that is essentially the power of Power Automate and bringing in the 300 plus connectors. So there's new revenue streams there, new business opportunities, new services that you can provide. Now, if you come over from an application development background, like maybe you're doing some app dev on Azure or something else, what low code, no code does in Power Platform is it provides a launching pad into a whole new world of opportunity. Like maybe you're dealing with a smaller company, smaller projects within your existing company, within your existing clients. And maybe there's something very simple that they want to do that it doesn't make any sense to create a custom code application from, right? Power Platform is perfect for that. Plus, it kind of leads you, it's kind of like the beachhead to lead you to additional, more complex solutions and projects going forward. Now, if you come from a data and AI background or a Power BI background, there's also new opportunity there, because we all know that the data, the reports, the dashboards that you get are only as good as where the data comes from. And where the data comes from is only as good as the user experience. If you have a very poorly defined data input mechanism, like maybe a very poor defined app or experience, maybe it's like Excel spreadsheets or something, that's going to affect the quality of your data, and in turn, that's going to affect your reports and your dashboards, right? So if you're coming over from, if you're a partner, your services organization that has a data and AI Power BI background, you often probably find yourself like pulling in that data from Excel spreadsheets or something else that's not very efficient. And so Power Platform gives you this opportunity to redesign that data input experience, and at the same time provides you new practice areas, workloads, revenue streams, and other areas that normally maybe you wouldn't think about, like in terms of app modernization, and again, business process automation. And finally, if you come from a SharePoint and a Teams background, of course, Power Platform like Dynamics is used to extend Office, is used to extend Dynamics. So there's a new world of complementary services there, and there's all these new things that you can bring to bear in terms of new service offerings, like virtual agents from Power Platform. And again, it also brings in some new practice area workloads as well, application modernization, taking maybe an older solution. Maybe it was actually built on InfoPath, or maybe it was built on Lotus Notes, or some older technology that's may or may not be very flexible. Maybe it's not supported anymore. Maybe it doesn't have a modern, like a mobile experience, integration, and so forth, and you want to modernize it. And so this is a great opportunity to use Power Platform for that. So that gives you I hope that gives you an idea, based on the background that you're coming from as a services organization, where the opportunity is for you, just to kind of scratch the surface. So in terms of what the market size is for platform as a service and Power Platform specifically, it's actually pretty significant. Again, like I said, it is growing. And by the estimates, according to Gartner, by 2022, it's projected to be about a $32 billion market. That's very, very conservative, actually. And so Gartner predicts Power Apps and Power Automate, formerly called Microsoft Flow, has a pretty significant addressable market. So now I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Reza, who's going to talk a little bit about, now that you have an idea of what the need is, where to make money, what the market potential is, what do we have to offer? So I'll pass it over to Reza.
Thank you, Nelson. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Now that Nelson has convinced you that Power Platform is the way forward, let me take you down a little bit into the platform and tell you really what Power Platform is all about. Usually when I start talking about Power Platform to my clients, the major point of confusions for them is that they hear a lot of terminology, a lot of jargons like Power Platform, Power Automates, Power Apps, and AI Builder, and then Dynamics 365 gets thrown into this mix. So what I really want to do at the beginning is to go deeper into the differences between the different elements of what makes Power Platform what we have today. So we always ask you to think outside of the box, but in this particular case, I'm going to ask you to think inside the box, and that box is what I've drawn as Power Platform. So you can see on your screen in the center of this box is what we call CDS. CDS stands for Common Data Services, and that's the underlying platform that Power Platform uses. I see CDS as being quite central to the Power Platform ecosystem because at the end of the day, in the real world, when we build applications, we always build experiences over data. We build processes over data. We drive insights from data. We drive intelligence from data. So as a result, I've used CDS as being really crucial and important to the Power Platform overall. So around CDS, if you can, if it starts clicking, okay, around CDS, we have, of course, the various consumers or clients of data like Power Apps, Flow, Power BI, and AI builders that are there for defining our digital experience, automating our business processes in case of Power Automate, or deriving insights or driving intelligence, which is what Power BI is. So these are all around the common data services. And then they add additional capabilities and features to the platform. So we have the Power Platform, which is, like I said, out of box, and we have the distinct components that provide different capabilities over data. And then, like I told you, the CDS is just really center and the important part of this whole thing. So this is another slide which is essential to show you what Power Platform is all about. Everything in Power Platform starts with API, and then we've got our tools around those APIs, and then layers and layers of enterprise features such as security, business logic, data capabilities, and storage. And of course, as you will see in the future slides, Azure is kind of like the backbone of the Power Platform that adds a lot of integration and extensibility capabilities to the Power Platform. If you ask me to define CDS in one sentence, the best sentence I could give you is that CDS is a platform that easily structures a variety of data and business logic to support interconnected applications and processes in a secure and compliant manner. And I hope this picture is enough to show you that, to support that statement that we've got things from security, from business process management, from the data management, from the storage and extensibility that comprise the CDS, which is the underlying platform of Dynamics Power Platform. So this slide is really for those of you who are familiar with Azure, who are familiar with building applications. That the key message that I want to drive from this slide is that Power Platform runs on Azure. I've got a little bit of infrastructure diagram here that I want to show you, and what it really starts with is like an endpoint. The common data service, which is the CDS, exposes an endpoint, and everything else we've built in the Power Platform ecosystem is the consumer of that endpoint. So when we think about it, things like Power Apps, Power Automate, or AI Beta, or even Power BIs are communicating with the core platform through that endpoint. So now that endpoint is behind the scenes using a load balancer that routes requests to a bunch of different types of VM scale sets, and we have some of those VMs hosting our APIs. Some of those VMs are acting as our web servers, which are handling synchronous processing in our job tiers, and some of them are hosting our custom business logics in the sandbox tier, and some of them are handling our reporting. But essentially, as you can see, there is a huge infrastructure behind the common data service that's responsible to do various things. So the key point here is that the single endpoint that is exposed and the massive infrastructure behind this is what's the backbone of the Power Platform. So now you may ask, okay, this is all great, but what about data? Where is the data stored? That's a great question. So that brings us to the next tier of the architecture. So we also have a very broad set of storage technologies that we use within the common data service to store your data in the best and most efficient way. One of the things that commonly we see folks doing is when we draw CDS, they'll draw it as like a just like database, right? An oil can. And the message that I want to drive home here is that common data service is way more than just like a database. As you can see, we use the SQL Elastic pools to store our relational data. We use blob to store our files. There is a particular data file type in CDS that we can use to store blob type of data. We've got our common Cosmos DBs that we use for log, and if you decide to index the data that is in CDS, you can use Azure Search. You can hook it up to the cognitive services, and if you decide to export the data from common data service, putting it somewhere there, consolidate that data with other data sources in your organization and build historical or transactional data and reporting capabilities, the platform has innate capabilities to export that data to Microsoft Data Lake technologies. And of course, the consumers are going to use that load balances and then single point of API to communicate with the backend. So now this is great for out-of-the-box rollouts of Power Platform technologies and projects, but what about you want to take this to the next level? Like I told you, the whole Power Platform infrastructure runs on Azure, so it makes totally sense that we can leverage the capabilities that Azure has. So we have Azure Functions, we've got eventing capabilities and messaging and queuing capabilities and containerization technologies that we can leverage using Power Platform technology. I'll give you a few examples. We've built so many Power apps that uses Azure Service Bus for LIFO or FIFO kind of like scenarios where the messages are sent to the service bus and then that's being consumed by our ERP applications or other applications for integration purposes. We always use Kubernetes services and Azure functions together with Kata to deploy extensibility points to Azure that can scale based on the workload of our Power Platform applications. And doing these things no longer require a lot of deep technical skill sets. Essentially, if you have those services included or built in Azure, all you need to do is just to build a custom connector in Power Platform and hook up your Power BI, Power Apps, and Power Automate applications to those things in Azure. So there are two types of data that exist in Power Platform. That is data that is internal, and Power Platform can also interact with the data that is external, right? So when I say internal, it's whatever data that is in CDS. When I say external, is whatever data that is outside of CDS. If and that's the case, you can still interact with both data types. So the next slide is so why external data is important? Well, it's because a lot of people have their data somewhere else. It's their home. As much as we love to see all the data in CDS and Power Platform, but in reality is that a lot of organizations have their data somewhere else, and it's easier to keep it somewhere like that. And for Power Platform to reach out to that data and consume and interact with that data, we have this notion of connectors. So connectors are essentially pre-built encapsulated functionalities. Think about them as apps that you install on your phone that allows Power Platform features and Power Platform applications to reach to the external data and interact with that data in a crawled fashion, create, read, update, and delete. Today, we've got 350 plus connectors that gives you ability to connect to a vast variety of different technologies, SaaS-based solutions, on-premise data sources, you name it, you can pretty much reach to any data source. And if there's no connector, you can always build your own connector that are based on the common common standards and APIs. So then what is internal data and why internal data is important? Number one is common data service is smart. It understands the shape of your data. It understands how different pieces of data interact with one another. It understands how different parts of your app, whether it's a Canvas app or it's a Flow or it's a AI builder, it knows how to interact with data. Second reason is that it scales. Like I told you, the infrastructure behind it is on Azure, and it's based on a lot of elastic scalability, and everything scales using those containerized kind of like layers of the architecture that is behind the scenes. Therefore, it can scale. And then the third is the data is secure because it's built on the top of a lot of world-class security features that the platform uses. So with that being said, I hope I give you a very quick tour of what's the Power Platform, the underlying foundation of the Power Platform, which is CDS, which is used to store and you store your data and build experiences around that data. It's not just about the storage of data, but also building experiences, whether that experience is like an app, is a business process, is a dashboard, or is an integration. I also give you a tour of why Power Platform can extend and scales because of its Azure backend infrastructure. With that being said, I'm gonna hand it back to you, Nelson.
Okay, thanks, Reza. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about what are the use cases for Power Platform. This is a very common question. People always ask, what kind of applications and solutions can you build with the Power Platform? And there's this wide spectrum of solutions, from very simple things where you're putting a better front-end face to a SharePoint form, to the other end of the spectrum where you're dealing with an end-to-end line of business, very complex enterprise-wide solution. And the important thing is that a couple of things is that there are no cliffs. There's this term, no cliffs or no limitations, because low-code, no-code solutions have existed in the industry for a couple of decades, actually. You think about like older technology, like Lotus Notes, and even InfoPath, right? But there was always kind of a limit of where you could take those technologies. It's important to note that with a solution built on Power Platform, backed and built on the foundation of Microsoft Azure, as Reza pointed out, you can take your application and you can extend it, you can scale it, you can build it beyond, maybe something that somebody builds for their work group or their department, and it eventually gets rolled out to the division and the enterprise level. There's no limit in that regard. So from a very simple SharePoint form to more a solution type that involves like personal tasks, simple tasks, to something that's a little bit more advanced, that maybe, once you build something for your group or even at your personal level, people see it and they want to use it at the department level, maybe even elevate that to the division level. And maybe you start off with a very simple Canvas app. Maybe it's just on your phone. But as you evolve, the UX, the user experience, the device that you're using on, the capability starts to grow. And so to the other end of the spectrum, where we can, at the enterprise level, you might have a mobile Canvas app, you might have a model-driven app, you might have a portal, you might have a bot, and it's all part of the same solution that you built on the Power Platform. Maybe you have a couple of different interfaces. That's actually very common. Like you have like a tablet experience, you have a phone experience, PC experience. Maybe you're using a number of connectors. As Reza pointed out, we have hundreds of connectors. Maybe you're using some other services like robotic process automation. Maybe you're using a couple of dashboards, you're using a little bit of AI forms processing. And at that point, maybe, there's a lot of complexity that you can bring into bear without writing any custom code. But a lot of times, a Power Platform solution, it will be low code or no code. But there's some situations where it can involve a little bit of code for extending different things. And so it's really like this partnership between citizen developers, power users, and professional developers. That's the thing that, if there's a couple of things that I want to leave you with today, is that, Power Platform is not just for citizen developers or for power users. It's very often a partnership. And we see this in a lot of customer examples. If you do a search on YouTube, the Microsoft Business Application Summit last year in 2019 in Atlanta, there's some great video case studies of customers, like really big customers like Schlumberger, Chevron, many others, and you hear it firsthand from them. They say, look, these are customers that have like over 1,000 apps, and they say, look, it's a partnership. So you have the business users, the citizen developers, the ones that are in the different departments, and they're in the different divisions like finance, HR. They're the ones that are closest to the business, so they understand the problems and they're able to cobble something together in Power Platform. It's like the innovation from the ground up. But from the top, you have the professional developers, you have IT, you have partners like yourselves, services organizations that come in and help to organize that, provide a center of excellence, help to scale some of these solutions, very often help to build some of those solutions, very often help to train those power users, help them maybe set up hackathons, to really coordinate that, because 1,000 apps, 1,200 apps, hundreds of apps, that's a lot for any organization to handle. So that's really what I want to kind of leave you with, is that it's really a partnership, and there's a whole spectrum of solutions that you can build in a Power Platform. The next couple slides just kind of give you, you can use this. We're going to leave you with these slides, and you can use them in your own presentations. But all this is just screenshots from the Power Platform, Power App tool itself, when you're creating your first sample app. These are all the templates that are available to you. And the point here is just to kind of give you an idea of like what people build with the Power Platform. It can be really simple things that like maybe, you don't think much of, but can really help to, organize your day, like booking rooms or asset checkout or budget tracker or vacation requests, help desk, whatever. Really simple solutions. Again, this is just the screenshots from the app itself, like out of office, interview tool, to-do list. There's all these different things that you need to do, either at the personal level with your team, at the division, at the department level. Really simple things that, in the past people would put together like an Excel spreadsheet, or they would have like a paper-based form or whatever, to the other end of the spectrum where things can get actually quite complex. This screenshot here is actually a real, this is a real application from somebody in the US, and they essentially built like kind of a quasi project management solution in a tablet Canvas app format, right? It's like project management light. So that's pretty interesting. That's pretty complex. To even the most extreme end of the spectrum, where we have Dynamics 365 for sales, like our own, like Microsoft's own first-party business applications, Dynamics 365 for sales, customer service, field service, marketing, talent, HR. These are applications that Microsoft built themselves on the platform. So you as a services organization, you as a partner, customers, you have access to the exact same platform that Microsoft uses to build its own first-party business applications. There's no hidden API. There is no it's like an even playing field. So, and you have the power of that platform with all the services that Rez talked about, and really there's really no limits. Now, Power Platform right now, it's the solutions and the apps that you build are really more for within a company, for the users, the employees of a company. We're not at the point yet where we're creating mobile apps for the consumer, where you can just put it up on any app store, for consumer exposure. So right now, it's really targeted for companies and their internal use. But I hope that gives you some idea of the spectrum of applications. Just one quick customer example here is Red Cross. Like I said, if you go to YouTube and you do a search on the Business Application Summit, either the one from 2019 or 2020, and you just watch, it's absolutely amazing to hear some of the customer stories around Power Platform, from really small companies to very large ones. The stories are they're just absolutely incredible, right? Because the innovation is coming from the ground up. It's these users, they're, very often they're power users, super users, but, again, with a partnership from IT, and the things that they think about and they build, and like they're literally able to transform these organizations. This one here from the Red Cross is really interesting because every day across North America, the Red Cross has about 650 instructors. These are paid employees and they're volunteers. And what they're doing is they're teaching first aid, their CPR, other life-saving trainings. They utilize supplies such as gloves, face shields, pocket masks, mannequin lungs to deliver these trainings. What happened before is that it would take weeks to order some of these supplies for training because it was very paper-based. It was a very manual process. It was prone with errors. It would affect the quality of the training because sometimes they would plan these trainings like weeks in advance, and like there would be something that wouldn't show up, right? Like some supply that wouldn't show up. Sometimes the order would not show up entirely. Like they would have nothing. So you have all these people gathered there for a Saturday morning training, and there's nothing there. So of course this is a problem. This is and then they would have no visibility into the status of the order. There would be no reporting. so what they did is they created a simple app, as you can see there. There's a screenshot of it that basically provides like a shopping cart format, allows you to, if you're a trainer and you're going to do a specific, maybe you're going to do like a first aid training or CPR training, like you need a set of supplies, and so it allows you to go in and just say, okay, for this training, I need the Preston adult lungs, I need these, I need this and that. And then there's approval workflows that trigger on the creation of an item and provides checks and balances. These are things that were never possible before. And then it sends off email notifications. They're able to track the order. They're able to track the status of it. They're able to see, like, how many people participated, how many items were used. There's a lot of analytics and reporting that goes behind it. Anyway, so the benefits is that the order life cycle was reduced from 3 to 4 weeks to just 4 to 5 business days. Like that's insane. Like that's 75% reduction in the order life cycle. They were able to get of course like all this visibility into the order life cycle, the logistics, staff workload, and so forth. And people just loved it. Like the app is just very, as you can see, it's simple. And that's the thing about Power Apps and Power Platform, is that for a specific application, for a specific scenario, you're able to just keep it to the absolute minimum. And simplicity is beautiful, right? Instead of, even something like Excel, using Excel or even something else like Lotus Notes or some other technology, sometimes it's just overblown, right? Where this application is very easy, very simple, and it gets to the point. A little bit about, and this is the second, I think this is the second last slide before we finish off for today, but just a little bit of a heads up on the sales cycle for software as a service versus platform as a service. So Power Platform, of course, is platform as a service, and software as a service, that would be something like Dynamics and business applications. And so I know there's a lot of people on the call today that come from maybe a SharePoint Teams background, maybe Dynamics background. And so the way Power Platform seems to, based on a lot of the case studies that are out there, not all of them, but the way it gets into a customer environment, and you get to the point where you have over like 1,000 apps like Schlumberger or Chevron or some of these, is that it happens slowly over a period of time. So what happens is, very often, and this, I would encourage you guys to do this, is that you can approach one of your clients or like a group of your clients, and you do something called an app in a day, and you can get access to, it's basically hands-on labs that we prepare, Microsoft prepares, that are available for you to use, freely use, and you actually build an entire app. You just go to aka.ms/app-in-a-day, and you'll get access to the hands-on labs. And very often they'll do that for a client or a group of clients, and then what happens is from there, a few of those clients will want to go deeper, and they want to do like a hackathon or a whiteboarding session, where instead of going through a set of hands-on labs, they want to look at a couple of specific scenarios within their environment, their specific environment, and say, hey, can we solve this problem? Can we solve this problem with this technology? And so you do like a whiteboarding hackathon session, whatever it might be. You might create a prototype app, and then from there, what you definitely want to do is you want to find a champion. Like you want to find a super user or power user within that client, within that customer account. And then you want to nurture that person. Like you want to be able to get that person, because that person's actually working for your client, that they're actually working for your customer, so they know the environment the best. And you want them to go off and kind of look for opportunities within your client base, and they're kind of an extension of your team in a way. And they're looking for other places to maybe create apps and prototypes, right? And over time, over a period of a few weeks or a few months, maybe you might do another training session or app in a day or hackathon. You start to have like a number of these bubbles of apps and opportunities out there. And it gets to a point where very quickly, actually, where there's so many different apps that you need to then bring that all together and have some governance and security, a center of excellence. And so Microsoft has lots of material on this. We have a center of excellence toolkit. We have a white paper. We have a lot of recommendations and guidance around this. You're free to take that. You can reuse it. You can rebrand it. You could do and make it your own. And then and so that's how it kind of progresses within an environment. So I just wanted to give you that heads up because just to show you how the sales cycle kind of proceeds. And very often people will find Power Platform just when they log into Office 365. So they find that icon and they're kind of curious. They're like, what is this? And so but then there's others that will find it through marketing, either Microsoft markets or you reach out to them and proactively say, hey, there's this great technology here. Let's do a app in a day or a hackathon to see what's possible within your environment.
And
So
Nelson,
hopefully that helps. I'm going to now pass it over to my colleague Joel, and he'll give you an idea of what the skill set and the roles are needed to support a minimum practice in Power Platform.
all right, thanks, Nelson. And while you were on this subject, we got a question, and I think it's the right time to answer it. It was asked, how is this solution licensed? So basically, as Nelson was explaining, the good thing about the Power Platform is that you can find it with your normal application. So when you get Office 365, you get a version of the Power Platform, so the Power Automate, Power Apps is included, but it's limited to the functionalities that you have from the base product. So in this case, it lets you define some, it lets you use some functionalities out of the Office platform, and it's basically the same when you get Dynamics 365. You get access to a Power Platform that is also linked to the application that you have. So in this case, let's say you get Dynamics 365 for sales, then you can create some Power Apps related to the functionalities and the entities that live inside Dynamics 365 for sales. So that part is covered when you get these base product. But when you're looking, and as Nelson was saying, basically this is how you get into the product also, by trying stuff. If you find that champion within your company or within your customer's company, well, they need to be I would say, shown how to use these solutions from inside up until a point where they might need to go and license the product. Now, the difference between the included product and the licensed product is that basically the licensed product provides you with more functionalities and the ability to connect to different solutions out there. So you're not limited to, let's say, for example, your Dynamics 365 for sales. You're now able to connect to different solutions and build an application based upon what you're using. And they might not all be under the Microsoft umbrella. They might be from another company, let's say SAP, for example, and you can connect some stuff between one another. So this is the beauty of this product. You can easily get into it, and then you can grow as much as you like. And as we saw in the last slide that Nelson was showing us, at some point it might get to be really big within your company that you have multiple Power Apps that you've built, for example.
Yeah, that's perfect, Joel. And yeah, I would just add to that, the barrier to entry is very low
Yeah,
because you can start with a community edition. Like if you want to start playing around with it today, like you could just do a search for a Power Apps trial or look for the Power Apps community edition. And the barrier to entry is very low, as Joe mentioned. And you can start off, if you, the license above the one that's included in Office and Dynamics is only about $10 per user per month and includes two apps and a portal. So I would say that.
yeah, and I guess you said the magic word. The barrier to entry is very low, which is great, which is great because it lets you practice on what you have, and then you can start to see the potential of the solution, and that's where it starts to make sense. Because basically,
Yeah.
what the Power Platform is, it's a solution to business challenges that you might face on a day-to-day basis, and it's an easy way to fix those challenges.
So the only thing that I'll also add is that the path to Power Platform is not necessarily through SharePoint or Dynamics 365. You can directly go to Power Platform, pay $10 per month per user, and run applications around a single business scenario for an individual employee. Or you can pay $40 per user per month and run unlimited applications for multiple business scenarios. I just wanted to make that also out
Yeah,
there.
that's right. It's standalone for as well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is something that we can help you with as you're starting your journey as a reseller into the Power Platform. There's multiple ways that you can come into this market and you can start building your expertise. And if for any reason it's something that you might want to resell but maybe not have the internal skills, we can put you in touch through our partner to partner program with people like Reza, for example, that can come in and help you work on solutions. We have multiple ways that you can get into this market, and we're here to help. Just wanted to mention that also. We have a question before we go to the next slide, and I think this one is for both of you. Maybe Nelson, you're aware. There's a questions around the connectors to either nodes or dominoes. So that NSF data structure, is there something that has been released on the Microsoft side as a connector to that platform, or are you aware of?
Um,
Yeah.
so, um, okay, go ahead, Nelson.
Go ahead, Rez. Sure.
I don't necessarily, I'm not necessarily aware of anything with Domino's, but we've done work between Power Platform and Lotus Nodes. So essentially, when it comes to connectivity, um, the sky is limit. So you have out-of-the-box connectors. If your backend system exposes the APIs, then we can build custom connectors. If your backend system doesn't expose APIs, we can use solutions like robotics process automation, as Nelson mentioned, to reach to your backend systems. We've done that using RPA and SAP, for example, right? So I haven't seen a single use case in the past 4 or 5 years that I've been doing Power Platform that we are not able to reach to the backend system using either of these approaches I just mentioned.
That's right, Reza. It's one way or the other. You can get access to it. Like Reza mentioned, you could build a connector. We're probably adding connectors every month at this point. We're over 300, so who knows if there might be something coming up. There's third-party tools out there like escapenotes.com that have built in some functionality between Power Platform and Lotus Notes, so that might also be something to look into. But